Hello Capsuleer, my name is Gildy and welcome to EVE Online.
Theory crafting ship fittings, a skill a lot of Capsuleers struggle with, and one some master to the point where they can spend hours trying out different ideas to find the perfect ship for the type of content they want to run. Regardless of you wanting to make a solo PvP ship, a whole fleet doctrine, or something that will run PvE side with minimal input from you, making really good fits can be hard to master. Fit making is also a process. Usually you will make a fit, take it out for a spin, and keep updating it till it fits perfectly into your playstyle. In this video, I will attempt to tackle this activity, give you an overview of how I approach this fine art, and share tips that I think should help a newer player start figuring out their own fits and hopefully having fun with theory crafting. First question that any experienced theory crafter will ask you when you tell them you need a fit is, what do you want to use it for? Saying, I want to shoot stuff is usually not enough. A fit for farming DD sites in a specific region will be different to one you use for low-level missions or to run the Sisters of Eve epic arc. That's because every content type has its own and different enemies, time of the encounters, and the need for special modules to be successful. Second question would be, what style of flying do you want to go for? There is generally two ways you can approach that depending on what weapons you use in your high slots, as each of the four main empires have their own version of short range for brawling and long range for kiting. You have short range pulse lasers and long range beam weapons for energy turrets, blasters and railguns for hybrids, autocannons and artillery for projectile, and combinations like light missiles and rockets, heavy missiles and heavy assault missiles for missile systems. Going for a brawl, be it PvE or PvP, means you will have to get in close and personal, having to have enough either buffer or effective hit points to survive or weapon power to take the hits before you deal with the enemy or deal with enough of them that they stop being a threat. You will be working with short ranges, but you will be dealing a ton of damage. When going for kiting, you assume that you will outrange your enemies, making them chase you by having speed advantage and range, minimizing the hits you take while you can still deal significant damage. Other thing to consider is that both hybrid and energy weapons use up Capacitor, while missiles and projectile weapons do not, so they can keep on firing even if your ship is completely drained. Then I would consider what kind of tank do we go for. Some ships are better at armor tanking, taking place in low slots, others at shield in their mid slots, and sometimes you have ships that can be tanked for either pretty well, and some people would even do hull tanking when going for PvP. To get to know which tank is preferred on a ship, open its info panel and check the ship characteristics. It tells you more or less what this ship can be used for, what's its preferred weapons and way of tanking. This is super useful if you are new to the game and the ship names tell you nothing. Right below that, you will also see the ship bonuses. This gives you an idea what exactly this ship has a bonus for, so what modules will be more powerful when skilling up that ship skill to use it more effectively. Regardless of which tank you choose, try to plug the resistance holes your ship has, unless you are going for very predictable fights, like ratting or hunting DD sites in one area, where you know exactly what damage type to put resistances up against. Then, for shields, you can either go with resistances, be it passive, going for one resistance per module, but using no capacitor, or active, either pushing all resistances at the same time with multi-spectrum hardness, or again going with targeted resistance hardness. They eat capacitor, but have better results than the passive ones. Or going for what is called passive tank, pushing raw shield HP and shield regeneration rate so the shields simply passively outrep the incoming damage. Alternative here is to push some resistances, make sure your capacitor can hold for long enough for the battle to be over, and use shield boosters, which will actively repair your shields every few seconds, with the repair taking place at the start of the module cycle. Armor tank can be buffer, pushing armor plates that give you raw armor HP, some resistances, so it's more effective. However, contrary to shields, it has no passive regeneration, and it's the passive modules that give you full spectrum of resistances. Active ones having mostly targeted resistance, apart from an interesting module called Reactive Armor Hardener. With every cycle, it shifts resistances, spreading it across all 4 at first, all depending on what types of damage you are taking. It can be great when you are being hit with just 1 or 2 types of damage, giving you a massive advantage, but if the damage types are spread out to all 4, it will be way worse than a multispectrum energized membrane. Another approach again will be active tanking, having a little bit of armor buffer, but going mostly for resistances and active armor repair, which again, contrary to shield one, takes effect at the end of the repairer module cycle. Then we of course have hull tanking, which I already mentioned. It's the riskiest one, as you abandon your shields and armor, but instead put in a damage control in your low slots and put bulkheads next to it, pumping as much hull HP as possible there. It can give you some surprisingly good results, freeing up slots for utility in mids, but ships will generally have lower DPS with it, as any damage you can get will usually come from your skills, as you want as much HP as possible, and damage modules usually go in the low slots, where in this tanking type all the bulkheads go. Lastly, a thing I mentioned already, capacitor. If your capacitor runs out, your modules stop working. Therefore, you have 2 ways to work around that. Either use as little active modules, trying to push passive resistances, going for buffer tank, or sacrificing some of your slots to use capacitor related modules, batteries, which expand your initial capacitor size, and recharges, which will either just give your recharge rate a kick, or have some small drawbacks if they are of the low slot variety. Batteries also have an extra thing of adding capacitor warfare resistance bonus, lowering any capacitor drain from enemy neutralizer or Nosferatu modules. One thing, however, cap stability is not required. If you have 5 minutes of capacitor till it runs out, with all of your modules being turned on, but you are preparing for short combat scenarios in PvP, or know that your propulsion module will be turned on for maximum of a minute during a sight and then it stays off, you don't need to keep your ship stable, making the delicate balance between getting more utility out of your ship and the capacitor holding just long enough for you to get out of the combat scenario. All of the modules I mentioned already use up various amounts of CPU and power grid of your ship, so while you're creating your fit, you need to make sure you stay within the boundaries of what the ship can handle. Going over any of the 2 statistics will make the module offline, which makes it unusable until you free up enough power grid or CPU. This can be mitigated by either sacrificing low slots, putting power grid or CPU modules in there, or using the last slots I did not mention yet, the rig slots. Rigs can help you with anything the ship needs, but you didn't have the space for it in your high, mid or low slots. Be it extra power grid, CPU, capacitor, or trying to get extra range on weapons or firepower, rigs have nearly all of it. There is only one catch here. Most rigs have drawbacks that will affect your ship fitting, so always check them before you decide which ones you want to take, and maybe put some skill points into the various rigging skills to mitigate the drawbacks. Now, to bring you a little bit of practice, let me take apart 2 basic fittings and look at the idea behind them, so you can start analyzing fits you see yourself and start learning what they might be for. This is a very good way to start getting into fit making. taking existing fittings and taking them apart to see what is the fit doing, why is it set up in this way, and changing it around to see if you can fit it in your vision of how you would tackle this or that content. If you want an exercise, go grab the fittings from the EVE workbench in the video description, import them into the game and look how they are fit, how you would fly them, and what they might be for, then continue watching to see how I describe them. First up, Caracal I used in my hunting for high-sec DED sites. I went with heavy missiles for it because they got decent damage, great range if you want to kite enemies around, and for basic frigates and cruisers you will find in 3 out of 10 and 4 out of 10 DED sites, they will be more than enough to comfortably take care of the rats. Mid-slots are a single multispectrum hardener, a kinetic passive resistance module to force as high resistance as possible for the sites in the area I was running in, which was the Guristas area, so high kinetic resistance was needed. Of course, this depends on rats you'll encounter, you can swap it for the resistance you will need. Afterburner, and then 2 large shield extenders to push raw shield HP for passive regen. Low slots are ballistic control systems for more rate of fire and damage, and then 2 shield regen modules to again push passive shield regeneration above the damage that might be coming in those sites. Rigs are once more just passive regen, with my skills putting us at 79 HP per second, peak recharge rate being at 30% shields. So with this fit, you go into the site, start dunking rats and burn away, not to be in the middle of all of them, but rather thin the herd before moving to the next rooms. Second one is this mighty PvP breacher for factional warfare. It's a brawling ship, so of course the weapon here is rockets. Short range, good rate of fire, decent damage output. Mid slots for this generally shield frigate are mostly utility. We're going with close to no extra tank here, but we got an afterburner to go fast and hopefully keep the range control against bigger ships, especially against ships that might be slower or still be able to catch the ones that are using micro warp drives. For micro warp drive users, we got a scrambler to turn it off and make them sitting ducks, and for other afterburner users, we got a webifier. Last mid slot is a medium ancillary shield wrapper. This one eats a lot of capacitor unless you feed it cap boosters. Then every booster is 1 rep charge and it reps a third of your shield. So as long as we don't panic and use them all at once, we should be fine for a little bit during the fight. Low slots are just for bare minimum tank with a damage control and 2 ballistic control units to dish out as much damage as possible before our charges run out and we inevitably perish. The idea here is to establish an orbit that will let you keep your rockets hitting the enemy and keep the enemy in your scram and web range while minimizing the incoming damage, so orbiting them at around 6 kilometers would be ideal. This is because the orbit command will throw you out a little bit further, while our scram range is 7,500 meters, a bit under the rocket range. This was the initial idea for the ship, but after a review I came to the following conclusions. We could try to put a Tech 2 scrambler there, but that doesn't really benefit us that much, and with it, we would have to keep using Tech 2 CPU rig, leaving 1 rig slot completely empty. Changing the enduring scram to a compact one, since outside of shield booster we are very cap stable, it gives us just enough CPU to make this a Tech 1 rig and slap an EM resistance on the ship. So as you can see here, playing around with meta modules, so compact, enduring, restrained, which are always better than plain Tech 1, might be the solution you need to deal with the fitting problems of Tech 2 modules. That's what I got for you today. Fitting is a massive topic, and I had no doubt that undertaking this in one video would not be feasible. So I will be expanding on different aspects of fit making, diving into things like meta levels of modules and what to choose, what ships are good for what purpose, with different mid-low slot layouts having completely different possibilities, and are the in-game tips for each ship accurate, what modules we have that can affect your ship statistics, differences between PvP and PvE fittings, and so on. Hope you enjoyed and learned something in this one, and I will see you in the future. As usual, if you drop any comment under this video, add your in-game name to it. I will be choosing 6 random comments from under this video and give partner exclusive ship skins you see on the screen to the winners. Only original comments count, not answering to someone's comment. 4 more skins will be given away on my Discord server, link in the video description. Both giveaways will finish 3 days from this video being published. If you would like to support me, you can use my referral link in the video description to get 1 million skill points. You lose nothing, and I get a kickback from your first purchases done in the EVE Online store, if you use my code. Other way, without an extra cost to you, is to use code GUILDY, either in the EVE store or on the Marky Dragon website. It supports me as I receive a small commission from the purchases done with the code. Lastly, if you want to throw a coin or 2 my way and get a badge next to your name when you comment, you can join the channel. Click the join button below the video to see the details. If you enjoyed this video, share it with a corp mate that might need it, leave a like and subscribe to some of my future uploads. If you are interested in what I will talk about next, my videos go up on Sundays. And if we never see each other in space again, Capsulia, fly safe.